Hello, guys. Welcome back to the FPL One Percenters Podcast. Guys, it's brilliant to be back and almost a full house this week. It's been a while since we've all been on together, more than two of us. So, Has, welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back and looking forward to a good chat.
I know it's been ages since I've heard those words. Thrilled and excited to be here. Kazim, what about yourself, man? How are you?
Good. Just had a bit of a downturn with Super Frank being out, but I think I'm recovered now, so I'm looking forward to another chat.
Yeah, my sincere condolences to you. Before we jump into it, for those of you joining us for the first time, we are brought to you by Footsapp, fantastic app that helps you sort out your football session. So give them a follow, check them out. Links are all in the description down below. But let's just jump into it. Game week 20, guys. I'm going to go last. I went first last week with Hammer just to get it out of the way. But I'm going to come to you guys first. Has, I don't think we guys have been on since the double game week. Is that correct, Kazim?
Yeah, sounds about right. I mean, we had a bit of a break, some of us, and then just scheduling reasons. But yeah, game week for me started off pretty good. I mean, I think the City fixture was first, so I had Gundogan and was it Cancelo, and then obviously John Stones as well. So it started off really well, and then sort of tapered off after that. But overall, I think I finished off maybe at 55. So nice. An average game week, maybe a bit above average, but
nice.
Yeah.
It felt like big holes from certain players, and then sort of a lot of regulars and a lot of big hitters just blanking as well. Something I know very much about this week. Has, what about yourself, man? We were talking about this off air, but how did it go?
Yeah, no, this game week, I think I just scored just over 50 points. I had Gundogan. I brought him in for KDB last week, which worked out well. I have 15 points sitting in my first bench position with Souček. Unfortunately, he didn't get on. And then, Man City keeping 2 clean sheets was great. I don't have Cancelo, so I didn't get those extra points. But, 52 points or 53 points, I think it's just above average for this week. So not bad.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sitting well below that. I'm on about 30 to 35, which is not the best. But the thing is, I had the template team. I had double Spurs. Kane hobbled off at halftime. But we move. You reckon the people who sold Souček post double game week? I mean, obviously they're regretting it. As what would you say to that? Because he was playing a lot deeper as well in game week 19.
Yeah, and the stat that I read is since Antonio's come back and since Antonio's been playing, Souček hadn't scored. And then he grabs a 15-pointer on the weekend. So Souček's one of those difficult guys. If you look at his stats, because I love looking at XG and XA, and he doesn't have the best expected goals scored, but he keeps popping up in the right positions and heading them in. So can't complain if you have him.
And it looks like his normally he scores off set pieces, but I think both of these were off open play.
And he was getting in the box as well, which is considerably different to the two, because a lot of people are holding for the double. I mean, the people who made the move, Souček to Gundogan, fine. That's a good move because both of them hold as well this week and are good picks. But if you sold him on for anyone else, it's looking like a painful decision. Do you think he's someone just to hold for the whole season? Does he play? Does he bench? What do you think?
The thing, it depends how the rest of your lineup is, because he's 5.1, 5.2 million. So if you're going to hold him, I think you have to play him, because really you don't want to have a 5 million player guy sitting on your bench. For your first bench position, maybe a 4.5 million guy is fine, and then you can spend the money on your squad. So if you've got 2 strikers and you want to keep him as a third, as a fifth mid, you're good.
Yeah, no, that's a good shot. And now Leeds, I know you love XG. And Leeds' XG has dropped off a cliff a little bit. We all stocked up for them for the double game week that never came, basically. Should we move away from players like Dallas and Rodrigo and Bamford and Rafinha and all of these guys who we were really looking at one point? Kazim, would you be jumping on them, jumping off them?
Yeah, I mean, if you have them, I think they're not bad to just hold, but I wouldn't be jumping on them right now. Yeah. I know Bamford, it doesn't seem like he's creating as many or getting as many chances, or Leeds aren't creating as many chances as previously to them. And given his finishing isn't the best, he does need a lot of chances before he finishes. So for me, I'm holding them right now just because I have other problems to fix in my team. I have that KDB Roman money to sort of spend. Got 5 million sitting in the bank, so I think I got to invest that somewhere. I'm just trying to figure out where.
Yeah, it's one of those where should I put these funds in so many different places, but then when KDB comes back, where am I going with it? Also, a quick question for you guys. I know we'll get onto like best performing players. By the way, Has is going to do a deep dive into defenders, midfielders, and forwards. So stick around for that. But City, would you go double attack or double at the back? Has, what do you think?
I'm going to say that, I already have double defense, so I don't want to make moves just to bring in another midfielder. But the fact that you can get Gundogan so cheap, I think it's worth doubling up, and then you could have Sterling and Gundogan, and then when KDB comes back, you just switch Sterling to KDB, and then you're good. But right now, because I already have the double defense, I'm okay. Because it's hard to go for Sterling and KDB just because of the money involved. But I think Gundogan plus one more is a good option.
Yeah, there is affordable as well.
Yeah.
There's so many players that are popping up. Like, if you look at the big hitters from this week, everyone's under 5.5 million as well, right? Suchek, Saka, and Gundogan as well. Rafinha as well. Yeah. I totally forgot about him. That's a good shout, actually. And so, lots of value for money this year as well. But like we said on the group as well, historical bias is quite high for us, right? Like, we love the players that we love. Kazim, you know a bit about that?
Yeah, no, for sure. But what can you do, I guess?
Yeah, I know, right? What did you think about today's game? For the first time, we're filming after all of the games in the game week are done. So, today, anything to read into today much?
The one thing I'd say is, even though Liverpool hadn't been scoring the last 4 games, and they were, getting
Sorry,
bad
7
results.
hours, 7 hours they hadn't scored. It sounds a lot more fun if you say that.
7 hours they hadn't scored. But when you looked at the underlying stats, they were still getting chances, right? They were still creating chances. They just weren't scoring. Yeah. And then, and you think, after a good run of games, those sort of stats are going to even out. And you saw that today where they bagged 3 and they could have had, one close handball call and they could have had a couple more.
Yeah, no, it was. You're welcome. From the United fans, you're welcome to all Liverpool fans for opening the floodgates for you over the weekend. But Kazim, it's a good thing Salah didn't hold though, quite painful.
Yeah, that was annoying.
Didn't hold. I mean,
Go on, Kazim.
Yeah, sorry,
West Ham next, right? I think Liverpool.
Yeah, this is the historical bias that we're talking about. If you had just seen the numbers and got rid of Salah when we could have done during Christmas, like he hasn't scored for ages and he hasn't properly held in a while, your team would be in so much better position as well, right, Has?
Yeah, you could spend, 12 million you're spending, right? You're holding. But the thing with Salah is, a lot of people have him. And then it's one of those things where, you're scared to miss out on his haul because it's coming. You look at his stats, he's greedy, he's going to take shots. And like Cancelo, people are holding Cancelo even though he hadn't hauled because it's coming. His underlying stats were good. And then boom, this week he does it. Goal.
Yeah, he's due. He was due, to be fair. Yeah. He was due. I mean, think Stone stole his haul from last week. But
yeah.
Has, are you ready to jump into telling us what defenders are the best shouts or what the stats are telling us?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think first we're looking at the upcoming fixtures. So I put together, upcoming fixtures, game week 21 to 25. One thing with fantasy football is you look at the past and you think, oh, this guy's got loads of points over the last 2-3 game weeks, so I want to get him. But those are lost points. I mean, if the guy's on form and the team's got good fixtures coming up, then you're good to go. And if you look here at these next 5 fixtures, I've using the FDR or the fixture difficulty rating that FPL has. I picked out the 5 teams with the best attacking fixtures and the 5 teams with the best defensive fixtures. So, when you look at attacking fixtures, you see United up there, right? And even Leicester. So you think, these are 2 teams that you might want to bring players in. And then, Fulham's there because they got easy fixtures, Palace, but, I'd hesitate bringing in those sort of assets, but even though they do have decent fixtures. Same thing on the defensive side. You look at, Palace, Man United, Chelsea, that they look like, they're going to get points. And again, Palace, questionable, even though they got the best defensive fixtures, but, United and Chelsea. And you look at United, sure, if he's got a regular place, 4.8, 4.9 million, right? It's a bargain. And if Lindelof comes back, he's also 4.8.
Yeah,
so
it's quite good value for money.
Yeah,
100% quite good value for money, to be honest. And Kazim, who are you going for in this sort of defensive stats? Who are you backing? I've been backing Reece James, to be honest. It's a side point, but it's quite frustrating because they've got 2 clean sheets that he's been on the bench for.
I mean, like a lot of I guess the thing I'm sort of leading towards is with all that money you have with the premium players not really playing well, like the last, I think 5-6 weeks, the top player points wise has been a defensive player. So there's a lot of assets there, and they seem to be doing really well, getting in the double-digit range. Obviously, I have the City assets, but I'm also looking at either a United defender or even Chelsea. The only thing with Chelsea is that you just don't know what the formation is going to be just yet. I know he is playing 3 at the back, so maybe Aspi is going to stay there. But I would give it one or two more weeks before you decide to drop Reece James, just because it's still unpredictable. He even said in his interview that I picked an unfair lineup. So at least with the Chelsea assets, it's a bit of a hold just to see what his formation is going to be.
What moves he's going to make. Yeah, very true. Very
and
true.
one thing, we talked about Manchester City. If you look at Manchester City's fixtures, they had the 3 fixtures I was targeting was the West Brom one, which they won 5-0, and then Sheffield and Burnley. Then you look after that, they've actually got the worst fixtures: Liverpool, Tottenham, Arsenal. So in terms of defensive, I know they've been really solid, but those are 3 tough games. So if you haven't doubled up, there's only like 2 games where you think, okay, they keep 2 clean sheets, and after that, they could be conceding goals.
Yeah, their big games were, I think, 18 to 22, right? When they started, 18 was on Brighton, and then from then on, those were the fixes that you really needed to target defensively, because they kept it, and they kept a lot of those clean sheets. They rewarded those who backed them, right?
Yeah.
Leicester-wise, it's a bit strange, right? No Vardy as well, but attacking-wise, they're putting up the numbers. And anyone who plays Leeds, I think, is someone you should look at, because defensively they're so open.
Right. And Newcastle, another one. You target Newcastle because they have not been too good at the back.
Yeah, we've moved on from sort of Fulham. I think Fulham and early doors it was Fulham and Sheffield. But Sheffield are the kind of team. I don't know about you guys, but I think that Sheffield, even if they concede 1 or 2, they'll never go for it. So they'll never leave massive spaces in behind. Whereas Newcastle tried that and they can't do it, and like other teams sort of Leeds leave more spaces in behind. If that makes sense.
Yeah, agreed.
But okay, brilliant. Now this is really good. Doubles wise, do we sort of know what's coming up, or do we just have rumors that Villa are going to have a double soon, City are going to have a double soon as well? But nothing set in stone yet, right, Kazim?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think a lot of it is dependent on the FA Cup fixtures, so it's really wait and see. And as you can see, it's really hard to plan just yet, given the the COVID-19.
Are you guys looking more short term this year now than you were at the beginning of the season? Would you say you've had to look more in the next 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks, or rather than 4-5 weeks, you would?
Yeah, I'm still trying. Some players that you want to keep long term are good, but then you can also try to target those short. Well, not short term as in 1-2 games, but if you can look at 3-4 games, it's worth looking at. And in terms of doubles, I think based on what I'm reading, the first doubles will come up in game week 24. So nice. It's not decided which ones it is, but there's talk about game week 24 to look at for doubles.
Brilliant. Happy days. Anything to add on the matrix, or shall we move on to defenders?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, brilliant. There we go.
All right. So what I've done here is, in terms of defenders, I've tried to pull out some stats that I like to look at when I pick defenders, for the next few game weeks.
Okay.
So you can see here, goals, assists, clean sheets. That's everybody looks at that. But the one that I've sorted it descending order from final touches in the final third. So which defenders pop up in the final third? You think they're going to have chances of getting assists, or at least creating something. And you look at this, and Cancelo's there at the top. The one thing to note is this doesn't include today's Tottenham-Liverpool game. So you can see Robertson, even though he's third on the list, he's played less minutes. And I'm sure after today, he'll probably be top. And you look at chances created. So,
he's up there as well.
Yeah, he's up there with 1 less game. Cancelo's got 8, Shaw 11. But then, and then you look at crosses. Yeah. Again, Shaw at 36. And then you look at Trent here. Even though he wasn't performing, 41 crosses in less than 3 games, but only 4 successful. So that's where if he continues his game and he sort of gets a bit more accurate, there's a lot of points there.
Liverpool have been chucking them in, honestly. There's 70 crosses between these two. That's mad.
Exactly. And then you look at the XGI, which I brought in, is the expected goal involvement. So Cancelo, Shaw, Robertson, all really high. And one thing to look at there is Ben Chilwell. Chelsea asset, you think is good on the defensive side. He's created 0 chances, created 0 big chances, put in 21 crosses, only 1 successful in the last 4 game weeks. So his numbers are slipping a bit.
It's, I guess, similar to Chelsea, just generally sleeping as well. But it comes back to the point, I think, that, you know what, if the points have gone, the points have gone. Like, you're not gonna, just because he scored in the past, if you jump on that bandwagon too late, you're not gonna get anything out of it, to be honest, right?
Exactly.
So it's more about looking forward.
Yeah, and then you see the two West Ham boys at the bottom there. Cresswell, funnily enough, is the top scoring defender in the game right now.
Nice.
And he's created 5 big chances, even though his goal involvement per game is low. He's created 2 assists and got 2 clean sheets in the last 4 games.
I'm surprised Justin's not on this list, right? I thought he was quite attacking.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Because that's the transfer I made this week. Just given that double game week, he got like an 18-point. I guess I should have looked into more of his stats, but he just looks so attacking.
He does, though, to be fair. I'm surprised Aspie's on here.
Yeah, that too.
Especially
the number of games he's played.
That's quite impressive. Big man. And Jared Bogle. Impressive.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I saw it. I was looking at that Bogle, but I'd stay away from him, even though his his numbers look good, goal involvement, but I'd stay away.
Okay, nice. It gives it. So basically, Cancelo. Now that we're talking about defenders, I just want to ask you guys: if you had just one City defender, would you have Cancelo, or the rotation risk is too much, or now you're sort of not worried about it?
For me personally, I think it's you keep him. Like, even if he's playing 4 out of 5 games, it's still worth it. Like, just given his attacking threat, if you see his positioning on the field, it's not a defensive. He sometimes goes in the middle, sometimes out wide. It's a dream to own him. But yeah, obviously the rotation's not the best, but when he does play, he does get in those positions.
Do you think he's like a rich man's Lamptey? It's just fun to watch. Like, it's just so much more entertaining for your FPL week if you have Cancelo in there.
Yeah, and he's gonna, get points. And the thing with Cancelo is, like, I wanted to double up on the defense. I already had Diaz. I couldn't afford Cancelo, so I went with Stones. And I was lucky that during the double game week he got that haul. But if I could have got Cancelo and Diaz, I probably would have.
Nice. Yeah. The goal was so jammy, though. Sorry, Kazim, what were you saying?
I was going to say one thing to sort of keep an eye on. I don't know if it's going to affect the next few fixtures, but Pep did say that he does need Laporte in his lineup. So there's potentially going to be some rotation, even with the centre backs coming up. Whether he plays, I don't know, maybe 3 at the back or something to mix it up. I'm not sure.
Because then there's Walker as well, that has to come back. So I know Zinchenko's been going left and right, wherever is needed. But they seem to come back as well. They have options, man. To be fair, that's one thing they do.
I think without KDB, it sort of like makes it much better for them because they can, they're a bit more versatile and like more players can come into the game. It seems like. So
it's true. And Hammer and I were talking about this on when we came on Monday. But basically, the fact that will City suffer because KDB is away, but they look all right. To be honest, they don't. I mean, it was West Brom, but they struggled against West Brom last time as well.
They played the whole season without a striker. It's like it hasn't really. I know in the beginning they were struggling to score, but now
that's mad.
They've closed that.
That's genuinely quite impressive. Anything else to add, Kazim, on defenders? Has?
No, I can move on to the midfielders.
Brilliant. And Cancelo's coming in anyways for me, but Shaw is the surprising one, to be honest. Okay, let's jump into. Let's jump on to midfielders. It looks like the fact I see Foden second on this list that you produced. Yeah, I don't know if it's just to mock me or.
No. So here's the thing. This isn't the list this is not the order of players you should go for. So I'm not saying Gundogan, Foden, Sterling. What I've done is I've pulled out some stats that like I said, I want to look at. And I could have sorted this by any of these columns, but I thought, let me, sort it by shots inside the box. Because, when you've got a cheap midfielder, you like the ones that have a lot of shots, especially inside the box.
Yeah.
And you look over the last 4 game weeks, Gundogan, 5.7 million now. He's had the most shots inside the box of any midfielders. 4 big chances. He's, chances created 7, big chances created 1. His XG is up there, 2.31. He was a dream. And then, the first week you bring him in, he gets 14 points. You look at Foden, he's also had lots of shots in the box. And you look at his time played. Over the last 4 game weeks, he's done all right with 340 minutes. But you can just never trust Pep with Foden because, he always seems to save Foden for FA Cup or, the other League Cup games.
Yeah. He shines there though, but it's just not FPL wise. You just can't trust him, and you know he's going to be the first one off as well. If they're going to make a substitution, he always looks like he's ready to go first.
Yeah, that's right. And then, Sterling up there with the XG, and then Saka, a nice another cheap one, 5.4. He's also popping up in the box. 20. He's got those penalty area touches, looks good, and chances created.
Lots of chances created as well, yeah.
For sure. And Mane's there. He just sneaked into the list, but after today's performance, I'm sure he'll be. He would have moved up that list.
Yeah, true.
And then in terms of Leicester, just quickly is, I know Maddison's been banging the goals in, and everybody's trying to jump on Maddison, but underlying stats, Harvey Barnes actually looks better than Maddison. But again, it could just be that Maddison's more clinical, so that's why he doesn't make the list.
Nice. You pointed out Harvey Barnes early doors this season as well, and he's been doing the business for quite a while, right? Taking along quite nicely.
Yeah, he went a bit, I guess, in and out of the team quite a bit, but now I think he's sort of solidified his place, especially with Vardy being out. But yeah, it's just it's tough to call between him and Maddison. Maddison just seems the more, high profile signing, but then Harvey, Barnes sort of, stats wise seems to be contributing just as well.
Yeah, that's true. And Oba as well, to see him on the list there. He would have been a good shot. I know Hammer brought him in for Game Week 20. I was going to bring him for Game Week 20. He looks like he's fitting into that Arsenal team are looking lively, but Saka's clearly represents so much better value, whereas you would normally just want to get, if you were replacing KDB, it's hard to just quickly not see past Aubameyang, if that makes sense. You feel comfort in having spent your money on a big player. It doesn't make sense, but does it make sense?
I know what you're saying. I think if I was going for Arsenal, I think right now I wouldn't want to spend so much money on Aubameyang. I think, to spend $5.5 million on Saka, you could probably, bring him in as your fourth or fifth mid.
Yeah. But then sometimes you feel I've spent 12 million on a big Arsenal. I deserve the points,
Yeah. No, I know.
Basically, what my midfield looks like with Son, Salah. I don't know. To be honest, it's a shambles. Bruno as well. So you feel like you deserve those points.
Yeah.
But there's value. There's value all across the board, to be fair.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's quite exciting. That's going to be a lot to think about. My debate is now whether to do a sideways move from a Foden to a Gundogan, whether that's worth it in the long term or to hold what you have. What would you if someone was debating Kazim to do Foden or Gundogan, to move from one to the other?
I mean, I think Gundogan is the one you need. If you have Foden, then I wouldn't.
Yeah, I gave it the thumbs up last time as well.
But yeah, if you don't have either, then Gundogan seems like the right pick, because he just seems like, I don't know obviously his underlying stats, but I know he's created quite a bit of chances. And also he seems to be on penalties. He's perhaps always raves about him as being his, prize or his best signing.
Really? Yeah? I never heard that, to be honest.
Apparently.
No,
he got subbed off 52nd minute or something.
Yeah. Him and Foden, double sub. Yeah. Love that.
So it's just looking bright. I mean, Foden's still a good asset. I mean, he hit the post. And Gundogan sort of he had really just
great finishes. The keeper didn't move as well, which is quite literally keeper didn't move. But okay, no. That's great. That was more personal advice I was trying to glean off you guys. Don't take that, guys, at face value, because we don't recommend. We put the stats in front of you and then you guys make your own decisions. If you want to copy any on Steam, then copy Harris's. But anything to add on midfielders? Bertrand Traore in there. You would expect someone like Jack Grealish, to be honest. I read this interesting stat about how Grealish's numbers drop off when El Ghazi or Bertrand are in the team versus when they're not, because he takes the brunt of all the scoring and creative responsibility, whereas when Bertrand or El Ghazi are on there, it's more shared.
Yeah, that's true. And just one thing to note is, I have sorted this in, with shots inside the box. But then if you look at XG, even because Traore is on there, he's taking lots of shots, his XG is still lower. And I don't know off the top of my head what Grealish's was. It could have been higher XG, but it's just in terms of the number of shots inside the box, it was less. Yeah,
which is a great indicator, to be fair.
Yeah.
Let's move on to strikers or forwards.
Yeah. Okay. So strikers again. I've got some slightly different stats up here, and this is sorted by expected goals, because as a striker, that's really what you want your striker to do. Assists are nice, but goals is where the business is at. And last 4 game weeks, expected goals, Lacazette right up there. You got Antonio, Watkins, Maupay. Kane is even there, Martial. So it's also all the big names. I mean, Vardy's there. He's injured, so you can't go for him. And Bamford, nowhere to be seen.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's true. It's more about who's not on the list.
Yeah, and Adams as well, right? Because I know a lot of people have him from Southampton. Again, not even on the list for XG. So
DCL not on the list.
That's another thing. With DCL, the one thing interesting about DCL is because now, Richarlison's back, Rodriguez back, their fixtures are turning a little bit. So he could be one that, you could be ahead of the curve and jump on him again, and he could have a couple of goals coming up.
Yeah. He looks like a one-goal kind of striker, though. One goal like a Danny Ings type.
Right. I remember, I had him at the beginning of the season, and he pops up with, 7 points, 8 points, 7 points, 8 points. So, it was consistent.
I think game week 2 and 3, he had a couple of big holes, but he's normally keeps it ticking along. Then he wasn't scoring, had a couple of assists. But yeah, this is quite representative, to be honest. Maupay is quite shocking to see him up there.
Yeah, Maupay. I mean, I personally, I wouldn't want to go Brighton. Like if you got that sort of, 6.5 million, I think Antonio's a good option. Watkins a good option there. If you have a bit more to spend, Lacazette, like it's surprising, but his numbers, they're good.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, penalty area touches, shots inside the box, everything's looking good for him. And big chances, 6 big chances in 4 games. So they're creating for him. Yeah.
The shocking thing is that like a team like, okay, fine, Lacazette, leave him to one side, but Antonio, Watkins, objectively are better options than Harry Kane by quite a margin as well, right? Is that something you expected to see, Kazim, or is that shocking?
Yeah, that's quite shocking to me. I mean, I know just the Spurs sort of setup, they don't attack that much, but you still see Kane get enough chances. So I'm quite surprised by that statistic. But I mean, the thing with Kane is I guess he is still the most consistent. So as much as he's, may not be getting as much of the XG standpoint, he's on penalties and he'll just, he'll finish his chances. He's a finisher, right? Where there's so many times with Watkins, he's just so frustrating. I know the last 2 weeks he scored, but he just frustrates you at times.
Yeah,
and even Antonio, it's like last game he could have got 15 points. And
Hammer in the WhatsApp group was not happy with Antonio. I wasn't watching that game. It was this game week, I think. Right, we should have scored 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And when we talk about XG, we've talked about the Spurs boys before. Like even though his XG there shows 1.88, he actually got 3 goals and an assist during those 4 games. So he's overachieving based on his XG. But somebody like Kane, somebody like Son, you expect them to overachieve their XG. Whereas other players, Antonio, his XG is 3. He got 2 goals. Watkins, just on 2. So they're hitting their average where they should be.
Nice. And Firmino, this isn't so. I think his last 2 games, the FA Cup and then this one, he's performed in both of those, right? He's returned in both the FA Cup as well as last night. He scored and assisted, right?
Right.
I think, if I'm not mistaken.
He definitely got a goal today.
Definitely got. I don't know about an assist, to be honest.
Yeah.
Would you, in the 6 million bracket, would you look past Antonio and Watkins, guys? Kazim, anyone else you would pick up on? I mean, Maupay, let's say, so we're not sort of looking that way, but from a personal standpoint, like opinion-wise, would you go? Anyone?
No, I mean, my magic formula would be like to sort of like, I would actually get both Antonio and Watkins and then maybe team it up with Kane. That would be sort of what I'm leading toward, just because with the premium midfielders sort of falling off now, like Salah's maybe a bit off form, KDB is obviously injured, even Bruno. There's more like flexibility of like stacking up the front strikers. With DCL is another option I was looking at. It's just I was hoping to see a bit more against him versus Leicester, but they just seemed a bit like more defensive. But I know, like Has said, like if you want to be a bit of ahead of the curve, you've got to take those risks a little bit. So that is someone I'm considering too, just due to his consistency, and when he does get a chance, he'll sort of finish. But yeah, those are sort of the main picks.
I've got a fun fact for you as well, by the way. Martial's on this list, right? He's got 6 goals in 25 appearances, and Timo Werner has 8 goals in the same number of appearances as well. So if you need any motivation to go back there, then there you go. Makes sense. I've got Bamford, Antonio, and Kane at the moment. Any other 6 million strikers you're taking a hard look at personally?
No, I think we've covered them. I think Antonio, Watkins, DCL as a good pick. Bamford, it's his underlying numbers, they're dropping off. Leeds as a team numbers are dropping off. So got to keep an eye on them. I need to double check their fixtures because right now I've got double up on Leeds strikers. I've got Bamford and I've got Rodrigo. So I think that's an area that I need to look at. I actually had enough money after dropping KDB to upgrade one of those guys to Harry Kane, but he looks like he picked up a little injury, so I got to keep an eye on that.
That's a little lesson for us as well in patience, because look, neither of them really hold, and you're 4 points better off, and now he's injured, so you're in a position to make a better decision as well.
Right.
But yes, lesson to all of us, myself included, and first and foremostly. Guys, anything to add on forwards aside from that?
No, I think we're good. Just what, like when you bring somebody in, if he doesn't score in that first game, don't make a rash transfer. You hold them for 3-4 weeks, and then you'll get your average XG out of them.
Yeah, hopefully this is the thing, is a lot of the times we go chasing points as well, right?
Yeah.
And with this weekend's fixtures, what are we saying, guys? What are your thoughts? Any captaincy thoughts at all? I'll throw a couple of fixtures at you. I know that we don't have them up on screen today, so my bad. Has, what do you
think that the big one that stands out to me is obviously with Spurs vs Brighton. I mean, that was sort of my planned fixture, was Kane, so I was going to bring him in and captain him. Now with him potentially being injured, may switch it to Son, or even I think Liverpool play West Ham. I think, is that correct?
Yeah, I believe yes. They play West Ham away,
and Man City at home to Sheffield. So Sheffield United.
Yeah, that's actually I forgot about that. So
that's a good shout. Actually, I'm in for that one.
But do you have I guess the big question is with no KDB, do you have the confidence to captain a £6 million midfielder? That's the big question, right?
Yeah, this is the thing. Comes back to the whole money thing. You need to captain someone expensive, so you can hold it against them when they don't hold. I'd like to shout out one of my friends who talked about off-air, Captain Gundogan this week. So very brave.
Well done.
But all thanks to the pod. But yeah, any final thoughts? Deadline this week is Saturday, 11 a.m. our time, UK time. So look out for that. Anything you guys want to add in terms of? I think we've covered a lot of it. To be honest, we've hit a lot of notes today: defenders, strikers, midfielders. Thoughts on the past game week. Good to see you guys after ages as well.
Yeah, likewise. It's been a while.
Always
just
a pleasure.
Missing the final piece of Hammer, but hopefully next week we'll be
final
back.
Piece. Yeah. Fingers crossed. He should be back. He sends his apologies. Has loving the new studio. I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone when I say that.
Thank you.
But yeah, good luck for this next game week, guys. Hopefully green arrows all round.
Take care.